Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talk about a very important and interesting concept in JavaScript or in almost any programming language for that matter, and that concept is called as the function. So essentially we are going to learn what functions are and what functions can do, and most importantly why functions are used. So even before learning about functions, let's first understand why functions actually came into existence and why do we use them. So let's say that you're actually making a financial application, and that application is actually going to do a bunch of mathematical operations. So you essentially need to write in some code to perform a bunch of mathematical operations so that you could basically go ahead, analyze the data and display it to the user. So in that case, what will happen is that you will have a bunch of web pages on your web app, and each of those web pages are going to need some code to perform that particular calculation. Now what happens is that if you take a look at the entire application, there is going to be a set of code which is going to be commonly occurring. That is, the same type of code or the same lines of code are going to occur on each and every web page. And what that does is that it basically is going to make your code inefficient, because there is a rule in software engineering that you should never have redundancies in your code. Now in some cases redundancy is required, but in most of the cases, in order to keep your code efficient and clean, you must always take care that the code has been reused. Now the next question which would arise in our mind is how to basically do that particular thing. That is, how do you basically reuse a particular code? And that can be actually done by using functions. So in order to basically understand this concept in a much more better way, what we could do is that we could go ahead, take a simple example, and I'm sure that you will be able to understand this in a much more better way. So let's say you want to basically write in a code to display a particular message. So what you could do is that you could type in document.write, and you could type in some message like hello there. So this is a simple line of code and there is nothing special in this. So if you save this, refresh this page, as you could see, you will see hello there over here. Now what if with this line we have bunch of other lines? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually repeat the same lines of code over here, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to save it. And if you refresh this thing, as you could see, it's hello there and hello there. Now this code actually makes no sense, but I'm just using it as an example. So what happens now is that, let's say you actually want to go ahead and you need to repeat this code, let's say 5 more times. So what you essentially need to do now is that you just need to copy this thing, and you actually need to paste it 5 times like this. And this actually becomes inefficient and it basically makes the code unmaintainable. So in order to avoid this, what we do is that we put this entire code into something which is called as a function. So for the moment, I'm just going to cut this code, and let's go ahead and learn how you could create a function and how code reuse can be implemented. So in order to create a function, you type function. Now after typing function, you need to specify the name of that particular function. So let's say the function name is going to be display, as this is going to display something on the output screen. So after specifying the function name, you need to have parentheses, and we will learn the significance of these parentheses in the next lecture. But for now, just keep it as it is. Now after this parentheses, you do need to include a opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. Now what these curly brackets do is that they actually hold up the code which is going to be included inside this display function right here. So we essentially paste the code which we have over here. So now our function contains this kind of code. So if you save this code now, and if you basically go ahead and refresh this thing, as you could see, nothing pops up because we have the function here, and this thing right here is called as the function definition. And it is called as function definition because we have defined the function, but we have actually not used this function in our code. So whenever you actually want to go ahead and use this function in your code, what you simply need to do is that you need to call this particular function. So whenever you want to call a particular function, what you need to do is that you need to type in the function name, which is display in this case, give a parentheses, and end the statement with a semicolon, and that's actually going to go ahead and it's going to call your function. So if you save this code now, And if you hit refresh, as you could see, the code inside the function is executed when we actually go ahead and call the particular function. Now again, I repeat that this function actually makes no sense, or the code inside the function actually makes no sense. I've just put it up as an example, and in reality the function is going to actually contain the code which is going to be repeated a number of times in your application or in your website. So this is how a function works. So basically we have the function definition, that is, we define what the particular function is, and the function definition is nothing but we have the keyword function to say that this particular thing is a function. Then we have the function name, then we have a parentheses, and then we have the opening and a closing curly bracket, and in between these two curly brackets we are going to define our function. That is nothing but we are going to put up the code which is going to be present in the function. And once the function definition is done, the next important thing about the function is to call that particular function. So we do that by using the function call. So whenever you need to call in a particular function, you simply type in the function name over here, use the parentheses, and then after parentheses simply end the statement with a semicolon, and you are good to go. Now in the next lecture we are going to learn one more interesting concept about functions, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.